You're watching Two Brains. This brain is Marlon.
This Marlon Liv.
And today we are doing a podcast on the most underrated rappers. Are we doing
Slash
specifically
artists.
rappers? Oh, you want to do artists as well?
Yeah, well, hip hop's it's a broad genre, isn't it?
It is, yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, so underrated hip hop artists.
Yeah, just in general.
Okay.
Yeah. Well, I mean, the natural starting point is it's a term I think is thrown very commonly around.
Yeah, I mean,
but
what
not,
does it actually mean?
Exactly, it's not like people throw it around. It's like the term like classic album. Like people throw it around, but what does it actually mean to be like underrated?
Yeah, it's because does it mean that you're not selling as much as other artists, like that you're not commercially successful, or that you don't have as many fans? Is it that just people don't know about you? Like not enough people know about that artist? Like what is it?
I think it's something that's on like an artist to artist basis.
Right.
So I think you can have like great commercial success, but because you have that massive commercial success, the people that are like hip hop enthusiasts or hip hop heads don't rate you as much as like a lyricist because you're popular, because you're essentially popular.
I see. So you think kind of like more poppy artists are also underrated?
They can, I think, not all the time, but they can be underrated because of that, and it can work, I think, vice versa as well. Right.
Okay. But then there are some artists that wouldn't want to be like popular in that way, like someone like JPEG Mafia or someone. I would say that they're underrated, but I don't think he wants to be rated. Do you know what I mean?
I would completely disagree.
Oh, I feel like more like underground kind of artists. I mean, it ruins your whole shtick if like you're not underground anymore.
But again, that depends on. I think that's an artist to artist basis. So I think if you use someone like JPEG Mafia, I think he's just someone who he just wants to get his music out there.
Right.
And he's one that doesn't really care about who's consuming his music. He's addressed it like, I don't really care. People are fucking with my shit. That's the most important thing. Obviously, not every artist is like that.
Yeah. So would you say he's not underrated then?
No, I wouldn't say he's underrated. I would just say he's not extremely popular at the moment. But I wouldn't say he's underrated. I would say the people that are aware of him rate him very highly.
I knew you were going to say that, but then so like, isn't that true of all underrated artists?
What do you mean?
If that's the definition of not underrated, then what's underrated? You're like it's making the line really hazy.
Yeah, I mean it is because it's a hazy term, but I think there are artists who don't have that commercial success who are still like underrated, even in the realms of people who are like kind of known, kind of.
So underrated is if people hear them and have listened to them,
and they're like, oh yeah,
but they
good.
don't really like it.
No, not necessarily they don't like it, but they're like, oh yeah, it's it's good, but it's not something that like immediately grabs their attention or. Like,
so, well, then, if those artists, why do they deserve to be rated then? If that's the response that they garner,
because it's like the term to rate someone it's a very subjective term.
Yeah,
isn't
it's very subjective.
Exactly. So,
which makes the term underrated so hazy. Like, what do you actually mean when you're saying someone's underrated? I think you're saying not enough people have heard him.
No, I think it would
definition.
Be like it's like a consensus thing. So like when people talk about like the GOATs, the greatest of all time, it's basically like obviously it's very subjective, but if you're trying to be as objective as possible, it's like a consensus thing. So that's why you always hear the same names popping up. Okay, but then who are you taking
as your consensus? Because obviously people who like hip hop
are
still like a separate person. Are you taking that as the consensus, or are you taking the general population of people who like Ed Sheeran and stuff? I mean, like
you do see a lot of crossovers. So people who you would call like casual hip hop listeners, even they're aware of the people who actively listen to hip hop are considered the best of all time. So they're aware of like Tupac and Biggie and Eminem. They're aware.
But I doubt they would have listened to them.
They would have listened to them in passing, like in casual. I
doubt it.
No, they would have heard the big song. These are like some of the most popular artists regardless of genre.
I mean, if you take the example of like Hey Ya or something.
Yeah.
Then I get that. Everyone's heard Hey Ya.
Yeah. But that's not a rap song.
Tupac and Biggie, I'd never heard a Tupac or Biggie song before I liked hip hop.
I mean, then that's just you.
What What are you talking about? No, I'm talking about another portion of the population. Like, I've been both not a hip hop fan and a hip hop fan. So I know that when you're not a hip hop fan,
okay,
you haven't listened to these things. You're just assuming people have because that's your experience.
But so like, okay, if you talk about someone like Eminem, then prior to you being an active listener of hip hop, you still would have heard Without Me, Stan, Slim Shady, people like that.
Because that goes into pop music.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So someone like Eminem and like
being
Kanye
rated
West
means that you break into pop music?
No.
Then what's your point?
My point is that it's a consensus thing. Like to define the term of rated or underrated it's a consensus. That's what I think. But
then I think saying that someone is underrated is the most subjective thing ever.
Oh yeah.
So I could say just an artist that I personally really fuck with, but they're underrated because other people don't fuck with them. But then that's just completely subjective.
I don't know. I mean, like if I talk about someone who I fuck with very heavily and then I'm aware not many people are aware of them, I wouldn't say it's because they're underrated. It's just because they're not very popular. They're two different things.
Okay, give an example. Who do you think's underrated?
Who do I think is underrated?
Yeah, and why? So let's have an example.
We're gonna have an argument about this now.
Why?
Because so I'll an argument. Okay. Someone I think is underrated. I think this is someone you'd agree is underrated as well. Okay. I would say someone like Mick Jenkins is underrated.
Yes, I would say that. Because I think that's because people haven't heard his shit.
No, but see, this is the thing. People, like... I think a lot of people have heard his shit, but obviously not many, like when you're comparing him to like other more popular hip-hop artists. But even people who have heard of him, like if you think of like his contemporaries, people who are on like a similar level of popularity, he's still not mentioned in like the upper echelons of those people.
Right, yeah, I get what you mean.
And that's what I think makes someone underrated. So
But why is that though? Because he is very good.
He is very good, but I think he just operates a very... I don't know.
I think it's about marketing and stuff. You know?
Yeah, I think that's a good argument.
Because I feel like he doesn't really market himself, or he doesn't have a team that markets him, or maybe his label doesn't push him out as much. Like, so I think it really comes down to that.
That's something I haven't thought about, because that's image is such a big thing in hip hop.
It is, yeah. It's like even if you're not aware of it, it's still subconsciously. If you see someone kind of about like on billboards and on adverts and in the news and stuff, if you just see someone all the time, of course you're going to be more inclined to listen to the music because you'll go, I'll listen to that tune.
Or even a lack thereof, because obviously some people's draw is like the mystery and it's the complete opposite, and that itself is a marketing thing. It's like, who is this?
What's the example of that though?
So someone like MF Doom, who's notoriously very mysterious, you don't really know that much about him.
Is he rated now?
Yeah, 100 million%.
Do you think, or is that just your?
No, so obviously I'm not speaking on people who like aren't listening. Obviously, MF Doom has a very like niche following. Yeah, but everyone, just from personal experience, everyone that I talk to who is like an active listener of hip hop, fucks with MF Doom. Right. Obviously, you don't really get. It's very hard. It's going to be hard pressed to come by someone who just casually listens.
But that goes against what you said the definition of underrated was. You said it was a consensus thing.
That's what I just said. No, it's the consensus among hip hop fans.
Or among the fans of that artist. What are you saying?
Okay, alright.
Because the average Brandon down the street, like, he's not really listening to MF Doom. He's listening to Young Thug and Travis and J. Cole and Kendrick, whatever. Okay,
I think someone like MF, he occupies a space where, because of the way he raps and just his whole aura, people who don't listen to him, they're like, I've heard he's very good. Or, I know he's good, but I don't listen. I know he's good, but I don't listen to him, but I know he's good. He's one of those people. So even people who don't listen to him are like, I know he's sick, but I haven't taken the time to listen to him. One of those people. That's what I would categorize him as. Right.
Someone that I think is very underrated is Smino.
Very good point.
Do you agree?
I would agree.
Yeah.
I think why do you think he's underrated?
But this is it. This is because this goes with my definition
Yeah,
of underrated. My definition
your...
of underrated is that people haven't heard enough. Like, not enough people have been exposed to it. So I feel like the people who have listened to, like, actively listened to Smino really fuck with him, think he's great. But, like, not enough people are, like, exposed to it.
So you think if Smino had, like, the commercial appeal and success of, like, a J. Cole, do you think he would be regarded as, like, that good?
I mean, but that's another thing, because he has a particular sound.
Exactly.
He's not like obviously, like, J. Cole is like more like a blueprint of just kind of hip hop, right?
Yeah.
He's quite classic hip hop.
Yeah.
Smino's very different. He's got his own sound, and he's doing his own thing. But maybe because he's not, like, following trends and stuff, that means he's not getting the traction.
I see. This is where, again, it becomes very difficult to determine, like, what means underrated, because you're talking about he doesn't operate a traditional sphere in hip hop.
Yeah.
But some of the ones considered the best broke out because they didn't do that. That exact thing. They broke, like, someone at Andre 3000 was doing his own
How long
shit.
did it take for Andre 3000 to get, popular?
I mean, so the Outkast's first album dropped in 93.
Yeah.
And it was very well received.
Yeah.
And then the second album came out 2 years later. And then when that second album came out, everyone was like, okay, they're on some next shit.
Right, so it didn't take too long.
It didn't take too long. No,
Yeah.
like, that second album dropped when they were like 20 or 21.
Yeah. I mean, it's another person who operates in a different thing, which is why most people don't fuck with it, Danny Brown.
I would not call Danny Brown underrated.
You wouldn't at all?
No, he's just one of those people who just isn't popular, who isn't immensely popular.
Because he's a kind of like you either love it or you hate it kind of thing,
yeah,
isn't it?
He's one of those people where if you're an active listener, you most likely probably very, like, fuck with this shit very heavily. Right.
Don't you think, though, that there are potential listeners out there, they're just not being exposed
to
of
course. Anyone who doesn't have that wide exposure. But I think Danny Brown's aware of that. He signed to Warp Records. He signed to a fucking independent record label in Sheffield. Right, yeah. Like, he's someone who's not actively chasing a wider audience, which is fine. So this is why I didn't mention it yet, but someone who I would deem as underrated, but who operates a different field. So someone who I think is underrated as a rapper, as a lyricist, not as an artist, who is immensely popular, is Drake. Right. I think, like I mentioned earlier, because he has attained, like, unparalleled success, like he's, like, been the biggest, not even rapper, just the biggest artist in the world for, like, 10 years. Yeah. People are kind of, they don't feel like it's credible or reputable to say, yeah, Drake's, like, an amazing lyricist because he's a pop artist. He is a pop
honestly,
artist.
I find Drake, he's a difficult one because I personally don't fuck with all the singing stuff, all the, like, viral stuff, like, all of that. And in that aspect, I think he's well overrated. But the rapping Drake that I have heard, I would agree with you, underrated.
Exactly. That's my point. And that's what
I wish he did that more.
That's what I would say. As an artist, I think as an artist, he's rated roundabout like where he should be rated. Yeah. But as a lyricist and as a writer of bars, I think he's underrated. Yeah. I think he's very.
But I don't know though. I do think you're in your mind. You are thinking of, like, because if you put him literally, like, bar for bar against MF Doom or against Kendrick or something, it wouldn't compare.
No, but they operate. They're not going for the same thing, so you can't mark them on the same criteria. Yeah. So when I'm going into a Drake rap song or an extended, like, rap project, I'm not expecting to hear, a complex narrative. I'm not expecting to hear a concept album. So then why do you
think he's underrated then?
I'm talking because like I think he embodies some of the core principles of hip hop. Is like he's got a lot of different flows. He's very versatile. That's one of his biggest strengths. And, like, he's got the punchlines, he's got the metaphors, and he's got, like, the swagger and the charisma and the kind of arrogance that you need in hip hop. I think he's got all of those things. Okay. And I think his pen is very good. I'm not saying he's one of the best ever. Right. I'm just saying he is underrated as a lyricist.
Okay, yeah, I can see that.
So what do you think an artist who is like deemed underrated, what do you think they have to do to stop having that label like thrown around their name? What do they have to do to stop? Because obviously every artist at some point is the underdog, the underrated artist. Like Kendrick was underrated at one point. Everyone is underrated at one point. Or they feel like they're underrated, or their fans feel like they're underrated.
I wouldn't agree with that. Some people like shoot to fame straight away.
Yeah, some people do, but again, someone like Kendrick, that was not the case.
But it was pretty quick though.
No, it was not. Do you know when his first mixtape dropped? 2003. When he was 16.
Yeah.
Consistently dropping mixtapes through like mid to late 2000s. Then even like the one that was like maybe one of the first big ones, the Kendrick Lamar EP in 2009. No one was listening to it.
Yeah, but was it that good?
It was good. It's pretty good. Okay. Even Overly Dedicated, the mixtape that came after that, I love that mixtape. No, but no one was bumping it.
I mean, I would say to stop being underrated, just get a good marketing team.
Yeah, but that's to stop being unpopular.
Is that not what we're talking about?
No! That's the thing. Popularity and being rated are two different things.
So being rated.
Being rated is far more
just being
loose.
Yeah, I know, it's annoying. Subjective. I hate this term. Why are we doing a whole episode on this freaking
Because,
term?
like, you know, hip-hop is full of terms like this. Hip-hop is full of, you know...
I know, but, like, what does it actually mean? I think people throw stuff around without it really, truly knowing what it means.
Of course, and that's why it's just, like, it's a debate that eventually just goes nowhere.
Yeah.
See you later, end of the episode.
Yeah, what are we doing? What would you say they need to do then?
What, to stop being underrated?
Yeah.
See, again, a bit like... in our previous episode when we mentioned influence, I think it's also a question of timing. Like when, so like you could have an amazing quality project, but it doesn't lead you to stop being underrated. But I think it's when and how you drop that project. So using the example of Kendrick, when he dropped Good Kid, Mad City, it was kind of like perfect timing, as well as it being amazing. Because it dropped at a time when, like, West Coast hip hop had kind of like not fallen off, but it wasn't the dominant thing anymore. So everyone was like, he's the one that's going to bring it back. Like, this is the guy. And then he lived up to those expectations, and then that catapulted him into being considered one of the best of all time. But not just because it was amazing, because he had that timing.
Right.
So I think that's a very important aspect.
Don't you think the people who handle that is the marketing team?
Yes and no. Obviously, I think the marketing team would lean into that. So they would hear what's going on social media and then lean into it.
I kind of think it's this kind of thing like the artist, there's not much an artist can do to stop being underrated.
You think it's just the luck of the draw?
Pretty much, yeah. I mean, who knows whose song's gonna blow up on TikTok?
That's very true.
What album's suddenly gonna gain some traction? Like, the only thing you can do to control that, marketing. Yeah,
I think that's very true, because I remember, obviously this is like a bit outside of the realm of hip hop, but still within the realm of hip hop. I remember when The Weeknd first, like, when he blew up. So I remember listening to The Weeknd when like the first 3 mixtapes came up when I was like 14 or 15, and I was like, oh yeah, fuck with this guy. And then his first album dropped, which was like Kissland, and everyone was like, yeah, it's like Weeknd fans loved it, but it wasn't like no singles were going to number 1 or anything. Yeah. And I remember like a couple of years later, like when like The Hills and Can't Feel My Face came up, and he was the biggest artist in the world. Yeah, and I was like, wait, I remember when no one even knew what The Weeknd looked like a few years ago. Yeah, and all of a sudden he's the biggest artist in the world. That's when I suddenly became aware of him. I didn't know who he was before. Exactly, yeah. And I remember going to uni and like seeing all these like, you know, middle class white kids from the country, like bumping The Weeknd. I was like, this is fucking strange. How is he like the biggest artist in the world? Marketing. Exactly. I'm telling you, this is what it is. And now he's not now he's a full-fledged pop star. Yeah, exactly. So marketing and timing. Yeah, for sure. On the topic of being underrated, do you think it's easier to ascertain someone who's overrated?
100%.
Example.
Cardi B.
You think she's overrated?
Yeah, personally.
Or
but again, that's a personal thing.
See, I wouldn't say, even though I'm not a fan of her music.
Yeah.
I wouldn't call her overrated.
Her album won like a Grammy for best album.
Yeah, but the Grammys aren't. Macklemore beat Jay-Z and Kanye and Kendrick in the same year, so the Grammys aren't a marker of anything.
I know, but like that.
But
Invasion of Privacy, everyone was like hailing it as like the best album ever. And I was like,
who?
Like all the publications.
Yeah, but the publications, they're not.
They have a big influence. You can't deny that.
I think when it comes to like people who consume music, I don't think they really care about what critics are saying.
They do. You're only speaking from your own personal experience.
No, I think the people.
You're limited.
I think the people that care about what critics are saying are people who want to appear like they're in the know. No, but that's
not the thing. It's like if like, so say, I don't know, Pitchfork or something, really rates an album and say they give it a really high score, whatever, it's not about people going and looking that up and then forming their opinion based on that. It's the repercussions of that, and it's the effect that has. Like, the music, you can't say that publications and stuff like that doesn't have an effect in the music industry. It does. It means that album will be promoted more by other sites. I mean, it means that it'll be invested in more. Like, there's things that go on. If publications are rating an album, then more will go into it and it will become more popular. You can't say that it has no effect.
No, I wouldn't. It has an effect in terms of popularity, but in terms of like consumers, I don't think it does. Like, for example, if we bring up again, if you're talking about the Grammys and when Macklemore won his Grammy, the second that happened, like people aren't like stupid. Like, as soon as that happened, everyone was like, "What?"
Yeah, but we're not talking about that. I'm not talking about Macklemore.
But it's an example because it got that deemed critical acclaim, which is winning a Grammy. That is like definition of critical acclaim. It won that Grammy, and do you hear anyone fucking with Macklemore?
I'm not talking about Macklemore. I'm talking about Cardi B. We'll talk about the example.
Okay, well, Cardi B is the exact same example. Cardi who is mentioned? Like, Cardi B is like one of the most popular rappers in the world. Not even female rappers. She's just one of the most popular. People.
Yeah, and I personally think that she's overrated.
But this is the thing, like when you have when you see any lists or like speak to hip hop fans, do you ever hear her name mentioned? Yeah, she's up there with the Kendricks and the Coles. Do you ever hear that?
So you're talking about a different thing then, because I'm talking about like
You're talking about popularity. You're talking about popularity.
Yes, I am. Is that not what we're talking about?
No, because I'm saying she's popular, but no one really rates her.
We're just spending this whole episode just on different pages.
She's popular, but no one really rates her.
I mean, people do rate her, otherwise they wouldn't be rinsing WAP, would they?
No, but it's just a meme song, isn't it?
No, there's people that are rinsing that, really loving it.
Yeah.
So how do you explain that?
There's Cardi B songs that I've rinsed. It doesn't mean I think she's one of the best lyricists going.
Are we talking about lyricists specifically?
Well, rappers. Artists.
Okay, fine.
But so do you think that there are artists who, unlike Cardi B, they operate a much smaller audience and they're still overrated? So that their audience size is smaller and they appeal to like a niche, but they're still overrated in your eyes?
I mean, see, this is the thing. How can I really gauge how big an audience is? I can't. I would need the stats. I would need to know
from your experience,
how many listeners. I don't know that shit off the top of my head.
But what do you think?
I don't know how many listeners people have. My first thing would be Logic, but then I'm thinking, that's a big.
He's very popular.
Exactly, but so how can I, from my perspective, how can I see who has a big audience and who has a small audience? How can I see
who's
that?
Getting the number ones? Who's got the singles, the viral singles? That's the markers of popularity.
I wouldn't be able to tell you who has a small audience.
No, smaller. I'm saying just someone who...
I don't know.
Someone who isn't one of the biggest rappers in the world. Put it that way.
I don't know. Who do you think?
I don't know.
Exactly. Exactly.
Nah. This is gonna... Okay, yeah, I do have one. But I think it's quite controversial.
Oh, okay.
Okay, I'm not saying... This is... When people hear an artist is overrated,
It doesn't mean that you hate
it doesn't
them,
mean that you think they're bad. It just means that the acclaim they get is just a bit higher than where you think it should be. But it's just, it's just my opinion. It doesn't really matter anyway.
Yeah.
But I would say, I don't even want to say it.
Just say it.
It feels like blasphemy. I would say someone like Saba. I very much enjoy Saba's music. Care for Me was a very good album.
I don't think he's overrated at all.
See, this, I knew you would disagree.
Oh, are you saying because people say he's one of the greats?
Yeah, they say like he's one of the best.
Because people say that Take Care is like one of the best albums. Blah blah blah.
Take Care.
Oh, not Take Care.
Care for Me.
Care for Me.
yeah. In that respect, so I when I listened to the album, I was like, I really enjoy this album. He's very talented, but I wouldn't say like he's one of the best in the game.
I mean, I haven't heard from Supper in ages. I don't even know what he's up to right now. So.
I mean, that album was only like 2 years old.
No, more than that.
Care for Me was 2018.
Like, Pivot Gang was like 2 years ago.
That was last year.
No, when did we start this channel? It was our first.
We started it last year. We started in 2019.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
That's our first video.
Yeah, so Care for Me was the year before.
Okay.
But I would say someone like that, where they're way above average, they're extremely talented.
Yeah.
But like obviously their core fans are so passionate about the music, which is understandable because I'm passionate about many artists. But I just, on a personal level, I would say it doesn't match the quality of music, like how much people rate him.
Yeah, but it's very strange to like say something like that though, because you are only seeing it from a limited.
Yeah, of course.
Like you are you're going from what people say on Twitter, and you only follow a set number of people on Twitter, and it's not like you follow everyone, so you don't have a good consensus.
I mean, in that respect, that no one does.
Yeah, no, that's true.
Yeah, that's why it's so subjective.
Yeah. Okay, so who else is underrated then? Do you think Denzel Curry's underrated?
Do I think Denzel Curry? He's
I feel like because he's still so young. This is the thing.
I've heard that. I mean, in terms of hip hop, he's not that young.
Yeah.
He's 25.
Yeah, that's young to me.
I mean, he's older than like Biggie was when he died.
Right. Yeah.
That
was crazy. Yeah.
He's been going for like 8 or 9 years already. So he's a very experienced artist.
Do you think he's underrated?
No.
Okay.
I think he's correctly rated. He's fire. If people this is the thing. If people looked at if I made my list of my favorite rappers ever, and they saw where I put Denzel Curry, they'd be like, "You're mad. How is he that high? You're overrating him."
Right. Okay.
In that respect, he could be deemed overrated, but I would never say that.
Yeah, that's your.
That's just my personal opinion.
Yeah.
So I have to try and separate. I know that that he's not he's not Jay-Z, he's not Biggie.
Yeah.
But when I'm opening my phone, I'm gonna go to Denzel Curry before I go to Jay-Z. That's just the way it is.
Right.
Even though I fucking love Jay-Z. Do you think that now, because we've got the internet, where you've got so many artists just coming out pretty much every day, and there's so much choice, do you think it's harder to be deemed underrated because it's much easier to gain a niche audience now because of the internet,
with streaming and stuff.
Yeah.
No, yeah, I would agree with that. I mean, back in the day, how would you even? I mean, it's just harder to discover artists.
You just have to go into record shops.
That's something where publications and stuff would have a lot more influence.
Yeah.
Because you have to go off something.
Yeah.
So you think that streaming makes it not as many artists underrated, because there'll be someone that rates you. Not
as many artists are deemed underrated, I would say.
Right, because everyone has an audience of sorts.
Yeah, everyone has an audience. There's an audience. If you're an artist putting your stuff out on the internet, there is an audience for you.
Right. Yeah.
Whereas if you're working in the 90s and the early 2000s, it's kind of, you have to rely on a bit more of luck.
Yeah.
I think in order to get your foot in the door, you would need way more of a base level skill and talent, and your music would already have to be quite polished,
right?
As opposed to now you can put this shit out whenever you want.
Do you think Jid's underrated?
Do I think Jid is underrated? No. Why?
I'm just wondering.
No, I don't think. I think he's correctly rated. I
Shall we
like,
just do a quick fire round? I'm going to say,
what?
Is this underrated?
Do it then.
You have to say underrated, correctly rated, or overrated.
Jid's
okay?
correctly rated.
Okay. We'll go alphabetically. ASAP Rocky.
Correctly rated.
Oh, do you think?
Yeah.
Okay. Brockhampton.
That's difficult to decipher though, because there's so many people in Brockhampton. There's so many people in Brockhampton. So there's one artist that might be overrated in the group and one artist that might be underrated in the group, and then that makes them correctly rated.
But if you look at them as a collective,
as a collective,
as a project, as an artist,
I mean, they operate again much because they're not just a hip hop act.
We're doing a quick fire round.
Oh my god! They're correctly rated.
Okay, thank you. Chance the Rapper.
See, I would say correctly rated.
Okay.
Because I think when Acid Rap dropped,
yeah.
it was slightly overrated. Even though I really like that album.
And
then when The Big Day came out, everyone was like, oh my god, this is fucking shit.
Yeah.
So I think he is correctly rated.
Okay. Childish Gambino.
I don't want to say it. I think he's slightly overrated.
Do you think overrated?
But I think my favourite Gambino stuff is when he's not rapping.
Okay. Yeah.
So like 3:15:20 is my favourite Gambino project. I love that. I love that album. Waking My Love is I love that album.
Right.
I think he's like the opposite of Drake.
I kind of think people rate him so much as a person because like people love him as an actor and stuff, and that transfers.
Yeah.
So like I have a lot of love for Childish Gambino just because I really fuck with him as a person.
Yeah.
So like some songs I'm like, some are fire obviously.
Yeah. No, I love him as an artist, as a musician, but I think his strongest points as a musician is not specifically like as a lyricist.
Okay. Oh, Sweatshirt.
Correct.
Underrated.
You think he's underrated?
Underrated. He should be considered one of the greatest lyricists of our generation.
Do you not think he is?
Hard facts. No, I don't think he is.
I understand why he isn't though, because his music can be very alienating.
I
love El Sweatshirt.
But even if you just look at it like objectively and just like read the lyrics, it's still poetry. Like
but this is rap. It's not poetry.
I get that, but I think his lyricism is.
It's unparalleled.
Unparalleled, for sure.
Yeah, of course. It's very unique. You instantly recognise El Sweatshirt lyrics. But I think, he's one of those people who he's actively not trying to appeal to a large audience. Which is fine.
I still think underrated. Freddie Gibbs.
Underrated. Freddie Gibbs is one of the best rappers of all time. Not just of now, of all time.
No.
My personal opinion.
And you think people don't see that?
No, okay, so people fuck with Freddie Gibbs very heavily, as they should do. But I think, put it this way, Freddie Gibbs is here. So basically, the top is there. Freddie Gibbs is there.
Doing
People rate him there. They're like, Freddie Gibbs is fire. I'm like, no, he's more than fire. He's one of.
The people don't really include him in their GOAT list.
Exactly, yeah. And I think over the last 10 years, his discography has warranted a place in that conversation easily.
Sure, for sure. Joey Bardas.
Joey Bardas. Joey Badass.
I think overrated personally.
I would say ever so slightly over. I enjoy his music a lot, but I would say ever so slightly overrated. Not that I don't like his music, but
Kanye West.
Don't get me started on Kanye West. Kanye
overrated.
West. Are you mad? Did you actually just say the greatest artist of all time is overrated?
I disagree. I don't think he is.
Are you mad? Kanye West is okay. He's not even.
So you think underrated, or do you think correct?
Yeah. I think he's like Drake because he's so popular. People because he's so popular, people see him as a producer.
And you know what? His personality just detracts from his music. When people think of Kanye West now, they think oh.
But I'm not going to musicians for my fucking politics. If you're going to musicians for your politics, what are you doing?
Yeah. Lil Uzi Vert.
Lil Uzi Vert, underrated. He's got bars.
Nah. He's correctly rated because people fuck with him.
No, people fuck with him because he's very melodic and he inhabits the trends at the moment. But just for bars alone, I think he's underrated.
Okay, alright. Lil Yachty.
I think he's correctly rated.
Okay.
No one's like, oh my god, Lil Yachty is my favourite lyricist. Like, but like they like, you know,
Yeah.
some of his shit is enjoyable. Like, he's not the best, but like some of his stuff
I
is
don't
fun.
fuck with his music, but I like him as a person.
He's got some fun. Like, his music's very fun, and he knows that himself. He's very self-aware. He knows what his music is meant to be. So I think he's correctly rated.
Okay. Pusha T.
I think he's correctly rated.
Okay.
Amazing lyricist.
Schoolboy Q.
He's a difficult one, you know, because he's actually quite strange.
Yeah.
Just like his music as well as his personality.
Quite strange, yeah.
It is quite strange. I would say he's correctly rated.
Okay.
I would say he is the second best member of Black Hippie. I think he's better than Absol and J-Rock.
I don't.
You think Absol's better, don't you?
Yeah.
Which is like I know people who very heavily fuck with Absol, and I completely understand why. But I think Schoolboy Q.
That's someone who I think is underrated.
See, I would call Absol overrated.
Oh.
Yeah. I like his music, but I don't think he has like one amazing project. Control System, I think is his best. I really like it, but since then, I haven't found a project of his that I love.
Okay. Slow time.
So it's because I was just about to mention, like, we don't really have these discussions about English artists. Like over here, it's just like if you fuck with them, you fuck with them, and that's it. That's the end of. We don't care about who's underrated, who's overrated.
Not as much, I think.
Not as much, no. But like Slow Tie, I think he's underrated.
You think underrated?
Even in the realms of like in England, again, because he operates a very different space from like grime and drill.
Yeah.
It can be quite difficult for people to get into because it's quite strange. But I think he's underrated.
Okay. Travis Scott.
Correctly rated.
Correctly rated. For sure,
yeah.
for sure. Trippie Redd.
Underrated. Trippie Redd is...
underrated?
Yeah. He's got bars. Trippie Redd is like one of my...
Do you think he's underrated as a rap artist? Because he doesn't rap that much, to be honest.
When he does rap...
when he does...
Have you heard Can You Rap Like Me?
Yeah,
Can You Rap Like Me Too? Uka Uka?
Yeah.
Bars!
Yeah, he's got bars.
I think he's underrated.
Tyler, the Creator.
You know what I feel about Tyler, the Creator.
Do you think he's underrated?
Of course. I'm always going to think Tyler, the Creator is underrated.
People rate Tyler, the Creator so heavy.
Yeah, including me.
Yeah.
But I would say, again, I'm saying, so as a musician, just as a whole package, I think he's correctly rated. People very heavily fuck with his shit for very good reason. I love Tyler, the Creator. But just as a rapper, and I think now people are realizing it because he's had all these rap features this year with like the West Side Gun and Freddie Gibbs. Like if Freddie Gibbs and West Side Gun are fucking with you as a rapper, you're doing something right.
Right.
So as a rapper, he's underrated.
But as an artist, I don't think he's underrated at all. There's a whole new generation of kids who are like basing their whole personality.
No, of course not. No, he as an artist, he is correctly rated as being phenomenal.
Yeah. He's had a lot of influence, you know. We should have talked to him about him last episode.
What, on the influence?
Oh, I suppose we talked about Odd Future, didn't we?
Yeah.
Yeah, he's had a lot of influence. Vince Staples.
He's a tricky one, you know. Very tricky one.
I think he might be a bit overrated.
You think? I would say he's correctly rated.
Maybe.
Because people aren't saying like I've heard many people who really fuck with his music, but I've never heard anyone who said Vince Staples is my favourite rapper.
Right, yeah. I mean, he hasn't like put out enough stuff, really.
No, he put out 2 albums in 2 years.
When was his last one? I feel like
2018. He did FM in 2018.
2018.
Then
I really didn't like FM.
Big Fish Theory was the year before.
And wasn't it like 20 minutes long?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, yeah, but that album gave us the Return of El Sweatshirt, so.
I mean, yeah. Just wait to see what he does next, isn't it? Okay, and finally, Young Thug.
Oh, Young Thug's underrated. Easily. He's one of the best lyricists ever.
You think that he is underrated?
Yeah.
You're insane.
What?
People fuck with Thug.
I am one of those people.
I know, so why would you say that he's underrated?
Because people don't... Because he's so eccentric and out there, like, that's the first thing you hear. You hear his crazy vocal melodies and his eccentric style and his many different flows. But if you just look at the bars on their own, they're fire. But that's not the first thing you see. That's like the third thing.
But he's a really great all-rounder.
Yeah, he's a great all-rounder. Yeah. And as an artist, I think he's correctly rated. People love him. As a rapper, I think he's underrated. A bit like Uzi. I'm not saying Uzi's
Right,
as
if
good
you're
as
just
Young Thug.
looking at his rapping.
Yeah,
Okay.
but Young Thug is an amazing rapper.
Do you know who I think is overrated? This is controversial.
Who? Is it going to piss me off?
No.
Are you sure?
It's going to piss some people off.
It's going to piss me off.
I think Future is overrated.
Oh, no way!
Yeah.
You think Future's overrated?
Yeah.
Explain.
I think there's only like a handful of good Future songs. and
Oh
people
my
put him as one of the
days!
greatest.
Did you say Future's... Oh, God. Future is not overrated.
In my opinion, I think.
See, this is the thing. I think I'm going to give you the Smino argument because you said Smino's underrated because people haven't heard enough of his shit. I think you think Future's overrated because you haven't heard enough of his shit.
No, I've heard enough and I was bored by a lot of
How
it.
many albums have you heard?
Maybe like 3 or 4.
That's like not even 20% of his music.
If I don't fuck with those 3 or 4, why would I go out and listen to all 60 of them?
Because you might... There's a Future album for everyone. There's like 10 Future albums for everyone. Go listen to Beast Mode 2.
Oh, mate.
Have you heard Hendrix?
Anyway,
I can't believe you said Future's overrated.
that's just my personal opinion. Like, everyone's gonna have their own like controversial personal opinions. Just who they fuck with.
Just this is just a thought that crossed my mind.
Mm-hmm.
But like, do you think these discussions of underrated and overrated happen more with female rappers?
Oh, I mean, we've only mentioned one
Exactly.
female rapper.
But like if someone like Nicki,
Possibly because women are criticised a lot.
yeah,
heavier.
so they have like a greater like the bar for them is set much higher. Which do you think might be why you think Cardi B's overrated, or is it just because?
I think her popularity has been insane, and that's
Yeah.
what I was thinking.
Okay, yeah, but yeah, I would say it's harder for women to be deemed as underrated.
100%,
Yeah.
yeah. Lil Sims is 100% underrated. Princess Nokia is 100% underrated.
I don't think Little Sims is underrated.
Oh, you don't?
She just won an Ivor Novello.
Yeah, that doesn't mean that, like, you know, the audience is fucky as much as they should be.
But like, this
Like, Grey Area was amazing.
Was
That
amazing.
should have got more traction than it did.
it should have, but like,
No marketing, that's why.
but yeah,
Or
this is the
little
thing. But
marketing.
like, I think she might occupy a space like a Smino where it's a relatively small audience, but people in that audience
really fuck
fucking
with it.
love
Yeah,
it.
yeah.
So like,
Yeah.
we love Little Sims,
Mm.
but
I feel like she should be bigger than...
No,
like,
yeah,
people
definitely.
in America probably haven't even heard of
no,
her.
that's true. Yeah, like, yeah, no, I think it's put it this way: it's hard enough for a female rapper to get big. It's hard enough for an English rapper to make it big in America. If you're a female rapper trying to get into America, I don't think
you
she
have to
fucking
break America.
probably cares about America anyway.
I mean, you know, I'm sure it's like a massive market.
Yeah.
America is a very
I mean,
big
but
market.
she got the co-sign from Kendrick like 5 years back.
Oh yeah,
So
she did.
that if I was Lil Sim, I've made it. I got
Yeah,
co-sign
done.
from Kendrick. So what the fuck? Fuck you.
Yeah.
But
Yeah,
yeah,
no, I think you're correct. I think it's a lot harder for the bar is set much higher for female artists in hip hop for sure.
no, 100%. Do you know who I think? One female artist who I think is underrated. Bad Baby.
On that note, I don't even want to hear something. On that note, so who do you think this is a controversial topic, isn't it? Everyone has their own
Yeah.
opinions and takes on it. So what do you think underrated means? Because obviously we didn't really see eye to eye on it. Who do you think is underrated? Who's overrated? Give us your controversial opinions.
Yes.
I want to hear the
Your
controversy.
smouldering hot takes.
Yes, the tea.
The coffee.
Okay, cool. Let us know in the comments down below.
Make sure to like, subscribe, and knock the bell.
And we'll see you next time.
Bye.